What's going on?
Hey man, not a whole lot. How are you doing?
Pretty good, hanging in there. Where are you guys out of? Where are you out of?
Arkansas.
Arkansas? Okay, nice, nice.
Yeah.
How's it? How's the jiu-jitsu scene out there?
Man, it's really growing. I was just talking to somebody yesterday. Like, I remember when I was like a white or blue belt that there was less than 5 black belts in the state, right?
Hmm.
And now there's over 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we're about to, I mean, I have my black belt now. I remember when I had my purple belt, I'd like bought some of your products online, right? And like
Okay.
we did some sort of like a call with it was at the time I was competing at IBJJF a lot. Um,
Okay.
but I've been following you for a few years, and you know, that's I kind of started watching you on YouTube like probably when I was a white belt or something, and now jiu-jitsu's really grown out here since that time. Just like it has everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of people. I meet a lot of people. It's kind of funny because I haven't really done a lot of internet teaching, right? Like on YouTube, because when I did it, I think it was like back in 2006, 9, or sorry, 2006, 2006. I was thinking of that stupid rapper. Like you was hearing shit about that. But anyways, um, uh, there wasn't many people doing it. So I get that comment all the time in regards to like people I see in the at tournaments and when I'm training, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I knew you, especially from like people who have been doing it for a while. So that's cool though. That's good to hear. Those videos just keep getting views on them, So it's crazy. It's crazy how it's blown up. But that's cool.
I do, man. I really like a lot of the videos. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched any of your content, but
Okay.
um, at least on your YouTube channel, the Ken Primo. That's what I knew. I didn't even know your name was
Yeah.
Primola forever.
Yeah.
But they were just like, I really liked your approach because I remember one like real vividly, this X guard video you put out, right?
Uh-huh.
And you were like, hey, here's all these different things you could do, like you could do this, that, or this, and sometimes that. And man, like a lot of your videos just seem to be that way. And like when I bought some of your wrestling series stuff, it was really similar. It was like, hey, we're gonna do this and we got these 4 options. It's just like I really like the way you laid it out. It's like been something, it's like I kept in the back of my mind as a method, just owning the school and stuff. So
Okay. No, I appreciate that. That's good to know. Because it's hard definitely to know your audience sometimes and to know what is going to vibe with them in terms of their teaching, their learning style. So that's good that you were able to take from that. Hopefully, I can do some more sometime soon. After here it's more. Here is probably more challenging to train than there right now, just because of the COVID stuff. So hopefully, when I train with a partner, you know what I mean, it's going to be easier to do more filming and stuff like that.
yeah, man, I've been keeping up with you during this whole downtime. Like, we are limping back. Like, we're in technically phase 2 and have started back limited way of phasing back in our kids. We still theoretically shouldn't be rolling
Hmm.
in our state. We're kind of, but in Oklahoma, one state over, they're rolling similar numbers. It's like so, but man, we moved to a new location like 2 weeks before the shutdown. Like
Oh
bought
shit.
sold our old location, bought a new one, twice the
Uh-huh.
size. Got moved in 2 weeks later, right before we're about to start the new schedule too, which was gonna have all this cool stuff. And we're about halfway there right now, I would say.
Uh, okay,
So,
nice, nice. So how do people in your community like? I guess the students are they how do they feel about it? That's the whole. And I asked that because like
reception.
that. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's I have. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on, right? Nobody does. Like, oh, it's dangerous. It's not dangerous. But like sometimes it's just like I definitely want to roll, hard and stuff like that. But like I don't. I'm old school where I would be more. likely to roll, I think, than somebody who's kind of like just got into it for a little bit of time. Like, and that's what I feel bad about, you know, for like people in an industry like martial arts or a gym right now, because it may be a challenge. So how is like the perception, as you said, in your community at your school?
At our school, it's not been negative, right? So like I'll be teaching jujitsu right at the front door. That's where like we have like a big mat area, like divided with a bag rack down the center. So it's technically two mat spaces. But then there's a fitness kickboxing room, all heavy bags, and there's a yoga room.
Okay.
So those demographics and crowds, which are diverse, they'll be walking in to go to their class, which it's a lot easier to maintain social distancing in those environments.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're up there like sweating each other's
Yeah.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
But,
Exactly.
you know, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are like, what on earth? I can't believe, because there's a fitness center here in town. It's like a mom and pop, like the guy he owns it, sponsored some of our guys in the past with memberships and, you know, gear. And he had somebody that was a member at his gym take pictures, send it to the state. And this was after fitness centers were allowed to reopen, but they were just like, look at him not following the guidelines.
Yeah, that's crazy. And what did they do? Did they do anything? The authorities or?
No, I mean they sent him a letter, you know, and that was the main thing. And then he kind of made some changes to how he was doing it. And like I'll say another thing, like we just started taking, like we do these like a orientation intro lesson process for the kids. So we just started to do that with the kids. We haven't like really enrolled any new members until like last week or so. Right. So like we haven't really been open to the public. And what I'm really trying to encourage is like, hey, how about you partner with the same guy every time you're a girl or what have you, every time you're in here. Right. I got several people that are doing that. That's like, they only work with each other, or they don't roll. Nobody like, I just kind of like how we've been doing the rolling is like, hey, it's either situational with the partner you worked in class, or it's just free roll with the same person. If you guys want to roll with each other, that's kind of, you know, I'm gonna be over here with this class while you're doing
I got you. Yeah, for sure.
So, but you know, that's I would say the sad thing is, man, is I like, not like we're like devastated, but with this situation as it is, and us just moving, and if we want to not feel the pressure, like pretty immediately we had to start getting the ball back rolling. I feel like we're not really, you know, not too far ahead of where we should be either. You know, I feel like there's states on both sides of us. Tennessee is the same way. Like they're rolling in Tennessee and they're rolling in Oklahoma. So, you know, there's that. And I'm kind of just like looking at that and and watching our community numbers and just trying to manage, man, and hoping that we don't have some sort of a second shutdown.
Do you guys like all communicate, the jiu-jitsu schools in the area or interstate or?
Yes, to an extent. So like we have a head coach that is in Arkansas, and he has like the Memphis gym, for example. And then I know a lot of guys in Oklahoma, like Omar French. He's a guy I've been talking to a little bit. And I've podcast with like every jiu-jitsu guy I've ever known during this time.
Okay. No, that's cool.
And we all, it's like, this is the complimentary 10-minute COVID talk at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, I've been, some schools are being more cautious. Some schools have been defiant. I talked with Tanner Rice on here yesterday. So, but, you know, I've been trying to really talk to as many people about this that either own schools or of varying backgrounds, even my own students. Like we have a 49-year-old college professor that was immunocompromised in the hospital with this staph issue like 18 months ago. So he's taken some extra precautions, but he's still coming in. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you know, I think if if the numbers are like really low, or there's just a better understanding in any community, people are going to feel more confident, you know, and if you're taking precautions, obviously. Right. But because otherwise it's just like, it's such a pain in the ass, you have to do this to do anything. It's just like, And it's not an insult to the person who has to do it. It's just kind of like, what hoops do you have to, you know what I mean? We're going to roll, you know what I'm saying?
So many people are not, I know several that are not choosing not to reopen, like the fitness center I train at, they've chosen not to reopen because everybody I've kind of followed on this like one thread of their stance is like, hey, you know, we're looking at the guidelines and we don't feel like we can really follow them without getting pictures sent to the state. So this would be impossible to control. So we're not going to reopen. Like our food industry here in the state, they had some sort of strange, only 30% capacity.
Okay.
You had to wear a mask until you got to your table. All these like kind of odd little barriers. So a lot of people chose not to reopen. And I was just like, wow, interesting.
Yeah, no, that makes it difficult. Where I'm at, I don't think we're legally allowed to open, but I know some schools have opened, but probably less. It's probably less here than where you are. I'm in San Diego, so it's there's so many schools here, obviously, but I can just tell from social media, you know, like what places are having classes and what places aren't. But in terms of what you're saying about restaurants, I don't even know if we're allowed to go in here. You know, it's happening every day. It's hard to follow the news, but to see exactly what they're doing in each county. But yeah, I feel you. That's got to be challenging.
It is,
there.
man. So, well, you know, and I've been following several. I have a few friends that live on the West Coast, in and around LA. Like a friend of mine that lives just downtown LA. He lives up in a big housing complex and like with a beautiful view. And he's been living what's going on. You could see the protests. You could see people getting arrested from his balcony. And I'm just like, that was last night. He lived it several times, but I know with the curfews and it's just been issue after issue for people in like say New York, California, these harder hit areas. I feel for a lot more in addition to the COVID, you know?
Yeah. It's, especially with Jiu Jitsu. Are you saying that within that context also, or are you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, think like so you guys that have had, I would feel like California as a state has had stricter guidelines in Arkansas. They were talking shit about us from the beginning, right? On the national news, like, look at these 7 states over here, however many it was, not doing what everybody else is doing. And, but I know that like these harder hit states that like say jiu-jitsu schools have been closed. I know I've been following Eddie Fivey in New York and, like 100,000 businesses permanently closed in New York.
That's crazy.
That will not reopen, you know. But some jiu-jitsu guy also in New York I'm friends with owns a school. He's in a strip mall. Everybody else went out, right? So there's all these things where, and then it's like, okay, so 10th Planet out on the West Coast, Long Beach got burned down, like that sort of stuff happening, compounded with the COVID troubles that were brought. I feel like it could prolong things, and you get these mandatory curfews and things on top of it. It's like,
yeah, man, I don't know what, you know, I was thinking like this also, and you could help me out. Like, if people can't like pay their rent, you know, the commercial rent, like a lot of these places aren't going to be able to get new people in, right? Like what? How does that work out if you know the answer? Like, are there people making deals? Like, what do you think what's the end outcome? Do you know what I mean? Like,
you know, luckily for us, we are like we're owning, right? So like, I'm not owning, I'm paying the bank for the next 15 years or so. But you know, we have an 8,000 square foot building. So it's like, it's a few $100,000 mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else I know in the whole state, for the most part, there's no one else I can really think of that owns their own location. They all lease. And I know that some people have received, like, it seems like the smaller the landlord, like if they're local, but man, like I know, a lot of them are these leasing companies and conglomerates and corporations that own a lot of big properties. And I have seen them not working with people during this time. So
That's too bad.
yeah. But, you know, I mean, hopefully that's, I don't know, you know, that's with us, the type of loan we had, the government, it was an SBA loan, and they're like, hey, we're going to pay your mortgage for 6 months, interest and everything. And I was like, thanks. That's great. Appreciate it. Like, I didn't even pay my first mortgage payment. We'd only paid interest while we're doing this remodel. We moved into a gym that was a fitness center, right? So we didn't have to do a ton to it. It was really set up close to the way we wanted. Got a good deal on it. He had been trying to sell it for like a few years. And, but we just like, we were due to pay our mortgage in April, and they're like, well, we just don't worry about that one. And, you know, for next 6 months, don't worry about it. That's what, you know, so for us, it worked out. We got some payroll money and different things. Like, I heard some schools not getting anything. We got everything, you know?
Wow.
But still yet, with as long as we closed, the number of memberships we had canceled, like, we're only at $400 in the positive, you know? Wow. And then you take to account, like, probably close to 40 memberships canceled, people that aren't going to come back, people that probably, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's a lot of uncertainty for those people. Like, some parents are just nervous about bringing their kid back in. But we've had tons of people that are like, let me pay an extra membership, and just kindness. And that's what, like, so I'm seeing that happen, and I'm seeing it not happen. And I'm trying to talk to as many people as I can about it, but it's hard to plot a trend.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like it's really stressful for a lot of people. And do you think, like, I haven't seen this that much, but like, and I don't think it's a negative thing at all, especially like the circumstances, but sometimes like the GoFundMe type things within the communities, because it's for the community, like, I think that really, that can help. Like, obviously what happened in Long Beach with 10th Planet there, it's a very unique situation, but I mean, that people want to help them out a lot, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like, kind of donation type things, like fundraising. And I know a lot of people don't want to do it out of pride, but I think, like, you know, if people can talk about the business and how it's great for the community, great for the kids, like, I think people would be really willing to donate sometimes, rather than just like the customers paying their monthly dues, but like some people outside also would. I mean, have people in your area, or do you, or have people thought about that? I'm not saying everybody, quote, needs that or anything, but like, I think now's jiu-jitsu specifically is a business that is really going to be affected, where it's like the last phase, you know?
Yeah. You know, I'll just tell you, like, one thing, for example, that I am seeing great community efforts. We have a couple of nonprofits in our area. Like, we're like this place in Arkansas. It's one of our 6 regions called the River Valley, right? It's like 6 geographical regions of the state. And we're here in the River Valley, and there's some nonprofits here, River Valley Food for Kids, and another one that really helps out low income homeless with laundry, showers, all sorts of stuff, called the Rust Bus. So there's some nonprofits that are doing things, but like, for example, I have a former member who's a mom, like, worked at the college, and she had some sort of issue with her back, got a back surgeries. She went back to work, hurt her back again at work, right? So doing something, right? And maybe went back to work. She said, I don't know what the circumstances are, but she had to have another surgery, and then a third surgery. She has 2 kids. She's a single mom. And I shared her GoFundMe yesterday, even on our gym page and on our groups. And I was just like, because I was seeing 10th Planet's GoFundMe get like $40,000 or something, right? And like, I donated to the campaign, and I shared it, and I shared it like 3 different times on like my personal page, on our gym group, and on our gym page. And I saw it go up like $50.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know. So it's just like, I don't know if it's an attention thing or what, or, I mean, I'm sure that she is getting help from some other community efforts, but with GoFundMe's, I've had success with those in the past. I've only done one, and I've donated
Mm,
several over the years for just different reasons like this.
yeah.
But I was really disappointed to see that yesterday, you know?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I think sometimes I've done a lot of like marketing in my life and copywriting. I think like the story, getting that story out there, how you get it out there, and how you tell that story is really important. I haven't like interjected, but I've heard some jujitsu people where like I've read their stories on Facebook and how they're waiting to open, and I'm just like, sometimes I really commend them, for having the ability to do that, knowing that they're going through their financial difficulties. And I'm thinking like, man, they tell that story, it's really emotional, and there's so many people that are supporting it. I mean, is there another way we could support them? And I think like sometimes being able to tell that story where it does evoke emotions is gonna bring people out to support it, and to support them. And I'm not saying like, I don't know if it's endless. I don't know like where the support ends. Like, oh, we support it, and then in a year this stuff keeps going on or something. But it looks like the trend today, especially most places, is like it's a downward trend. In terms of the COVID thing, and when you talk about like facts, you're talking about like parents worried, and I'm a parent too, who's a little bit, worried about this situation with daycare, and and there isn't really a lot of facts, honestly, coming out, medically speaking, where kids are proven. There was talk about it, but like there hasn't. I'm not sure of any cases where they've documented where kids are training jujitsu and they're coming home to their parents. Kids are in school and they're coming home to their parents and giving it to them. And I think like that knowledge, if it hasn't been debunked, what I'm saying, that would give me confidence, because I haven't seen a lot of that science yet, where it's just like, hey, when my child is able to go back to school, I might just like be like, okay, fine. She wants to play with kids. Okay, fine. Because kids aren't really getting it. And if it's not really asymptomatic, then it's just like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, man. And like, and I know, like I messaged a guy earlier that had done a private lesson with you once upon a time named Matt Blank. He was, I think, in the area when you were out.
Yeah, I know of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I was like, man, what kind of questions do you want me to go over with, with Ken? And he was, man, I've kind of lost my track here. Hold on.
It's all good. It's all good. It's a common.
There's something you said that reminded me of something I was wanting to talk to you about. Well, anyway, we're talking about kids in daycare, but
yeah.
Sidetrack. Anyway.
No.
Yeah, man, I don't have kids. So,
Yeah.
but okay. Yeah. Matt said you were a highly educated guy. Congratulations.
Oh,
and I know, like, so is it, you used to be an attorney, is this correct?
Yeah, I used to do some legal work. Yeah.
So I'm a historian. I teach college, and I don't even know what to believe right now. I'm a trained researcher, and there's so much out there about with numbers and stats. And I've tried to look at surrounding stats. I mean, just all that stuff I told you earlier, and tried to use like all of my rationale and my 27 hours of philosophy and logic and just everything I know about 1945 to present. And I can't funnel all this that's going on through anything. I'm just like, oh man, like with it, it's like a hydra. There's so many facets to what's going on with asymptomatic, and do kids pass it on to parents, and the antibody testing, and it's just hard to know, man. I haven't been able to generate enough brain power to really figure out what's going on, and it's been frustrating.
No, man, I feel you, and I think regardless of education, it's there's so many experts that are, it's really, I'm not going to say people are wrong or they're making mistakes so much as there's just new information all the time, right? So I think like when it, and it could be like dying down, it could be getting weaker, right? Like there's reports of that. So it's just like, I don't think anybody's wrong to say, oh, it's a lie, it's nothing, right? Because it could be becoming nothing, right? Like it could be like, oh, we got all these protesters out here going crazy, and are the numbers going to jump up in like a week? They should be astronomical, right? All these states have opened, it should be astronomical. So we don't even know how it, we don't know much about it. But I think, you know, overall, it's going to look good for the near future, because it does look like it's going down. And yeah, we don't know if there's going to be a second wave, whatever. So it's just like, listen, if it starts to look really good in my area coming up, then you know, I'll be training, and I'm not going to be thinking about the waves that are going to be coming in with this virus. And I don't think a lot of people are. And if it does happen, then people are going to kind of see it probably much earlier than, they'll take notice more so than they have now, right? Where we were kind of surprised. I think that's going to give a lot of confidence. Whatever the facts are or aren't, when people start getting it less in communities and numbers are low, I think that's going to help a lot of people feel better, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, have you ever trained out here in San Diego?
I have not, man. I've been to Long Beach, Irvine, LA a few times, trained out there. My friend Jack Toffer lives out there. Been talking to him about this a little bit. And he's a Dave Comet guy. Dave Comet Jiu Jitsu out there in, I think, LA. I haven't been to Comet Jiu Jitsu Academy, but I know a few people out there in that area. But man, I really would love to come to San Diego. Some students and friends of mine, they do some missionary work, like they are affiliated and work at this church in town, and I guess they have like some connection there. But ironically, this student of mine, he's the blue belt, and he goes down there periodically, and he was down there on the beach like 3 or 4 years ago. And this is dude doing some yoga stretches on the beach, and turns out that dude's Fabio Santos.
Oh wow!
Right,
that's
and then this guy, my guy mentions jiu-jitsu, and he's like, "Oh, you know, I do jiu-jitsu. You should come by my school." And then come to find out, he like opened the 4th jiu-jitsu gym in the United States and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I trained at Fabio's in like 2002 or 1, you know, for a period of time. I was a member at his gym, and it was like him and Henrico Medeiros. I actually trained at both of their gyms, and you know, it was crazy. That was a long time ago. So that's pretty cool. And he's into surfing and all that. So that's cool. He's still doing it, you know.
Yeah, it is, man. It really but I haven't got to train with him, but I would love to train with him. If I was in the area, there's several places I would like to hit up. Obviously Atos. And so you moved from the East Coast to the West Coast a few years back. Probably around the time I was talking to you, it seemed like. Where are you training at out there?
Right now, I moved out to the West Coast. I was training at Coyote's place for a while. I actually lived there for a period of time. Up north in San Jose area. And then I was training with Denny. I moved to San Francisco. He's friends with Kyle, Denny Prokopos. And then I moved to San Diego. I know it's a long story because I train with everybody, but there's like a local gym. It's called Herman Torado Jiu Jitsu. I taught there for a bit, trained there. There's an alliance school, trained with like Tarsus, Humphreys, Elias Gallegos. And then I've been doing like more like competitive training at Keenan's place at Legion.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was going there a lot until, you know, this thing happened, right? So that place was really nice, and everybody was going there, hundreds of people on Sundays, open mat. So, you know, that was where I was training more competitively here. Yeah, before this happened.
Are you still, you know, I know that I've kind of followed you've competed a lot over the years. Like the whole time you've been on my radar, I've seen you competing, seen you putting your name out there. If you weren't competing, you're active, giving back to the community, putting your stuff on Amazon, etc. Marketing. Like, I mean, I bought your stuff, but I mean, have you stayed with competing this whole time?
You know, I was doing so much marketing, and then when I went to Coyote, I was more into like competing with, so, and I've kind of, that's been about, for the past 5 years, I've been more getting into competition, right? I think I competed like for a few weeks in the IBJJF scene, before this happened. Yeah, I've been competing, trying to do like the adult level even, and I'm in my 40s now. So, uh, yeah, I love competing, but it's not always that easy to do, right?
Yeah.
In terms of lifestyle. So yeah, I'm trying to get into it, and be competitive because I can, right? Like I think unless I'm super, knee surgery or something like that, or old and out of shape, then I'll stop. So yeah, to answer your question, I've been competing and I like competing, and I was kind of trying to get into a groove, right? Like before this happened. So it was kind of like me and a friend of mine, we're going to like different tournaments, IBJJF tournaments like weekly. And it's just like, oh man, now this happens, right? So
Yeah. So is that just something I'm not 100% familiar with your wrestling background, but like, are you just like, have you been competing since it's like ingrained in you now,
I mean, I compete, I've been wrestling since I was like 12, and I just like it, like I liked it for as a wrestler. Obviously it is ingrained in that sport, but jiu-jitsu nowadays, I think, like if you want to get the most out of it, I mean, there's so many things you can get out of it, but like if you're trying to learn and trying to be successful at jiu-jitsu and successful at marketing, right? I want to kind of match everything. Like if I'm going to have products, if I'm going to help people, I want to have been out there, like giving the perspective of somebody who's been competing. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. But like honestly, the more you learn about jujitsu, the better you get. For me, I feel I enjoy it more. So it's just like it's a challenge, but it's not like, oh, I just want to be the best so I can say that or show that. But it's just like, yeah, you love jujitsu, right? It doesn't mean you need to compete, but you may be getting better as a teacher. You may be getting better as a training partner. There's many goals or purposes we have in jiu-jitsu, and one of the purposes I have is to compete, and I like it. So that's kind of like the long-winded answer. If it's, I
Well,
like competing.
I think, man, just like in my experience, that with what you said at the end seems to be the most important thing about competition is that you like it. I think it's
Yeah.
important too if you don't. I think you should go do things that you're afraid of. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's healthy to do a certain amount of that, right? But I also think that you should really like enjoy it. And I've competed a lot over the years, but it did get to a point there towards like the last time I competed where I was doing it so often, I wasn't really enjoying it.
Oh, okay.
And when it got to that point, I was like, well, I'm just going to take some time off. And I felt great about it, and I haven't competed in a couple of years, but wouldn't rule it out again. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people probably feel similar, like right now, like to you in a way, like it seems like people can't wait to get back on the mats, and maybe competitions. And I think the IBJJF is even giving like a free competition away, I think,
Good.
for everybody. I think if people want to go that route, like where they can just say you're signed up, you have your first competition free, or you can take anyone you want to free. So I think, and not just not even saying that for like in a competitive manner, just like in a freedom manner, like, oh, I'm in a jiu-jitsu tournament and I'm here in the vibe on the mat, it's fun, you overcame, like, at least that's how it's going to feel for me, like, oh my god, we've overcome this freaking nightmare, now we're doing what we love, right?
That will, yeah. The first, I would say, just because I know I've looked at the IBJJF sort of the cancellations they've done, all of the rest of this year and stuff. But it's like that'll be kind of the marker to the return to normalcy. Is that first IBJJF, or when there's multiple tournaments in the same region on the same day and stuff like that, or in surrounding states. So
yeah. And I know I've been asking you a lot of
hey,
questions.
I appreciate I appreciate the dialogue, man. So yeah, go ahead.
Um, And I haven't listened to like that many podcasts lately, just because there's just so many of them. But it seems like I like how you're approaching it, the questions you have, the dialogue you're putting forward. How does like how do you? Okay, I want to start a podcast, or uh, how does that come about with you? And like, what is like the goal? Like, is it Joe Rogan? Like, just because I've been interested at different times, and I don't know how, I don't know how it works, how people make it. What are your thoughts on that?
So
And how long? Go
I've
ahead.
been doing it for 2 years, right?
Mm.
Um, and I just tell, I get that question sometimes. I tell people the short answer, and I'll go into it, is that it's like become a real natural extension of like who I am. So like when I was in college, first, like I had this kind of underlying desire to go to like a film school or something. I was interested in that. Nothing around here to go do. I didn't want to leave the state at that age in my life, So
Uh,
I was uncertain, and I'd even written my senior term paper on the history of film, right?
oh wow.
But then I go on and like, man, it was a lot of uncertainty. I was asking people, family members and stuff, like I was telling them I was interested in these things and interested in history. And it was very much a conversation of like, well, what are you going to do with a history degree?
Yeah.
But man, so in about 2009, I feel like I just tell people I got my shit together. I was 23 years old. When the recession hit, then I was selling cars at
Oh, okay.
a Nissan dealership, and I got laid off, and I went on
Hmm.
unemployment, and I went back to school.
Right on.
And because I was in school, I got to stay on unemployment for like a year,
Hmm.
and it was just that's when I got plugged in with that professor guy I mentioned that was immunocompromised and stuff. I contacted him and I was like, hey, my grandpa's World War II veteran, and he had a son that died in Vietnam. I would like to do some sort of project, like an independent study. He's like, bam, I run this Arkansas Digital History Institute. So I did that. And then I started working for that history department at the college where I graduated from, Arkansas Tech. And they had me work on this project where I filmed professors and like created these DVDs and mailed them to high school teachers of these different presentations. So it's almost like what we're doing without the questions, like it was more like, hey, let's prepare a talk around these contents. You give it, we're going to show up and film you and produce it and send it out to the people who need it. So that, and then I mean, in a way that was podcasting with what I was doing. I was learning how to edit. I got a lot of editing experience. And then at some point, kind of like with the history too, I was like, man, I love watching jiu-jitsu videos, man. I watch Ken Primo, all these. I had Ari from Submissions 101 the other day. I'm having all my YouTube heroes on the podcast. But even like with my martial arts people that are my mentors and coaches, they were like, well, you shouldn't put your shit on the internet. And I'm like, so then I was like, I feel like I just should have done it a lot sooner. I should have not waited. I should have done this 5 years ago. And because it's what I'm interested in. It's how I can, like, I just like always writing lists down and all sorts of stuff and journaling and, databasing my techniques and watching videos and taking notes. And so it's just become like, oh man, okay, this is a way that I like satiate this weird creative itch that I have to produce content like around the things I'm interested in. So this is like a jiu-jitsu. I do a jiu-jitsu and MMA spinoff, but I have this life unraveled where I just could be anybody. We're not going to burden them with the jiu-jitsu conversation, but I have a lot of professors on, and I do a history unraveled where I like different history stuff I'm interested in. So it's like, it's a way that I can kind of encapsulate all the stuff I'm interested in outside of like my martial arts academy. But then that's also kind of a side on the podcast too. So I've enjoyed it, and I'm excited about, like, I feel like I'm getting some momentum. The new gym, like this will be one, like this is a studio at my house. The new gym we built, we closed in this one area that had this weird entrance, and I've got a studio there. My dad, I made a custom table. I fabricated it. our judo instructor, and he teaches a morning class. It's a nonprofit for like law enforcement. He made a tabletop, put my logo on it, flamethrowered the tabletop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you know, in the new studio, that's like been the culmination. Like I've been wanting to have my podcast in a neutral spot. I've been wanting to do more podcasts like this. Like, dude, I would never get to talk to you unless I stepped out of the studio. Like I'm still here, you know, but virtually speaking, like I'm not like, hey, Ken, come out and teach a seminar and then we'll do a podcast. It's just not a logistical thing. I can't have every guy that I want to talk jiu-jitsu with to come teach a seminar just so I could do a podcast episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's been a great learning experience too. It's like with anything, like I'm not an audio engineer. Like I know a little bit about filming, man, but when it came to like hooking my camera externally that I use off the computer into the mixer and all that, and then it was a lot to learn. But it's been that's been the slowest part about it. But it's been fun because I don't know a ton of podcasters that are giving me inside secrets, you know?
Yeah, no, it sounds interesting, and it sounds like you got a handle on that technical part, which sometimes, at least for me, like at one point I was thinking of like doing it, and I'm just like, man, I don't know that much about like audio and all that stuff and how it works. I mean, I see some people, they call it a podcast, and it's just like on iTunes, and I don't know if they even talked had videos, there's so much information out there, it's kind of difficult.
See, I do like what I do, and I've been on the phone with Apple because I always do this the fastest process. I'll take this video, I'll download it, I edit it, and render it and all that, and then you can export it as an audio only file. So my intro music and all that's there. Well, that process stopped working, and I was just like, guys, come on, the Apple doesn't know what's wrong. But I do the video podcast, strip the audio off that, and I put it on my podcast host, and then it sends it out to 10 audio platforms.
Oh, wow.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that. And that's been a whole other side, like the analytics side, that I'm starting to try and figure out, like, okay, why did I have 242 downloads on Saturday? That's weird. Like I don't get it. Like it was just like a normal thing that was like, whoa. And I'm like, on the audio, just on one side of it. And I'm just like, that's interesting. What caused that spike? Did somebody I know share it, like that knows a lot of people? Like, what's the deal here? So but it's just like anything, man. I'm still figuring that stuff out with my jiu-jitsu. Like it's a great retention tool for my students, but I do have some videos that I notice. I'm like, oh, that's like 100 more views than last week. Like, especially like I have a couple of stability ball videos that have been like the solo videos, that are going up during this time. I guess that's what people are searching for.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've had I see my kettlebell videos like spiking, like how to do certain exercises, and not like I'm a master at kettlebells, but it's just like, obviously everybody's at home doing something, so so it's the dummies. Remember, like when the COVID things started, everybody was like how to make it done. And I see people. People are trying, and I give them credit, but it's just like I see so many of these like dummy videos wrestling, like doing takedowns with them. It's like, it's interesting, that's for sure. Did you do any of that, like Zoom classes and stuff like that?
We did. We do kickboxing at my gym too, and MMA. So for that crowd, I did two classes a week for them. I did a few jiu-jitsu classes. I wasn't having great participation on that, which I like. Here's some people that are having all their students log in, and we had amazing participation with kids on Zoom classes. But I don't know what the deal was. If people just didn't want to do the solo movements, or we weren't. We were emailing, we're posting about it daily. I just didn't have that audience from our academy is pumped about it for whatever reason. But we put out a bunch of videos. We probably spread out from fitness and at-home kickboxing workouts and yoga videos. We have 2 yoga instructors. They did probably 10 videos. So like we put out close to 100 videos across all tiers since we like probably 6 to 8 weeks. And so like we were hitting like a video throughout the day for like each program almost every day, and then sharing that over on our social and sending links to playlists out in the email. So, but that's just, we tried to be very eclectic with it and just get content out and be talking with people as much as we could. And we did get good response. Got a lot of people sharing stuff. So
That's good, man. That's cool. I've seen a lot of people out there, and I still see people, you know, doing it that haven't opened up their schools, and some of them have had some good retention. Others, I can't really say, you know, but I was just kind of wondering, you know, how that would work. And for me, like for my daughter, she's young, but I wish she was able to pay attention. But I think it's valuable for a lot of parents to have somebody helping their child out, because it's tough, you know, to be there.
It is that, you know, the 8 to 12-year-old demographic's been our best participants, and like lower tier teens, like 13, 14. But I started having some of the teens that are older, 15, 16, they're coming to my kickboxing class because their classes are just getting back going. But with the kids, it's the younger the demographic, the harder. I mean, Cora, my wife, we own the gym together, and she teaches most of the kids' classes, and she does an amazing job with her patients. She is a saint.
Oh, wow.
But
That's good.
With the 3 to 4-year-olds and with the 5 to 7-year-olds, but like, and she does such an amazing job. But they just started coming back in the gym this week, and man, like, people are talking a lot about like mental health in this, right? And I can't tell you how positive that is. Like the kids, or the feedback we're getting from the parents, but also like with what I see with, like, when we weren't doing Zoom classes and we're closed trying to figure out what we're going to do, we didn't see any of the kids for like a couple weeks, you know. But like, just when Cora got to see the kids on the Zoom class for the first time, like what that did for her, you know.
Yeah.
Like the positivity, and like how it's really made me evaluate how much, even I noticed it, like with the first several Zoom podcasts I did, I was like, oh, a person, I haven't seen people in a while, you know. It was just like seeing a face, man, and like just on a screen, and like, hey, you can hear me, we're talking, and I see you.
Yeah.
Because early on in this, there was a lot of uncertainty, but that just like seeing like us limp back to normalcy. When she saw the kids yesterday, for example, first kids class, we had a daytime class, like that was a positive for everyone involved, the parents, the kids, her, by extension of her, me, because she taught the class. But everybody's mental health like went up a few points yesterday because of that interaction, you know. So
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and I think it's going to continue to happen, for sure. That's a positive thing, because I mean, you know, parents have to have their kids not playing with other kids or spending time, and I think it's to have them in an area where they can do that. I haven't hardly really done that, to be honest with you, with my daughter, but it's like a celebration in a way. Right? Like to have them in an atmosphere where they can be around kids and feel good. Everybody, I think, is, you know, to have a sense of normalcy, right? And jiu-jitsu really is, when you think about it through all this, it really is the truest sense of normalcy, right? Like if you've gotten back to jiu-jitsu, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. You know what I mean? That's not a new normal. That's, you know, that's the primal thing, you know?
Yeah, man. And too, like, I feel bad for those people that came to jiu-jitsu for an improvement in their mental health, like, and then their fitness and just all the benefits that it brings, you know. And then they lose, like, just from the student level, like yeah, me, the business owner and stuff, it's been difficult and I didn't get to train as much. But for the people that's their only community, it's their only social time. Like I have members like that. It's like they don't see us, like they're just gonna be at home, like, or they don't see their friends in the gym, or maybe them getting into the gym was their, like, for me, very much so. I got involved right after high school, and then that became my community, and like here we are, like this is how full circle it's gone with just branching out and flowering out. So
Yeah, no, that's true, man. I think it affects a lot of people, their mental health and their well-being, and like you said, it's like people who are especially getting into it, how it affects them, and it sounds like you probably have it together in this regard, but it sounds like just that communication from leadership is as is as important during the times like this, like you know what I mean? Because if there are people who use the jiu-jitsu community as their community, and they need them right now and they can't get it physically, I think having that obviously mental aspect of it and that communication from that group, those groups, you know, is important, you know. And I think like for me, like, okay, I love jujitsu too. It helps my mental health, you could say. But the benefits of it, right? Like, so now I get into something else, or I focus on a different purpose for a period of time. You know, I think like we can take the strengths from jujitsu, not just like kind of utilizing it for those benefits, but also having what it gives us and putting that to other places. For me has been beneficial. Like, oh, be consistent. I'm studying different languages. Be consistent. Do this. Be consistent. You know, just like I was for jujitsu. This is how you get better at jujitsu. This is how you get better at this or that activity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, man, let me ask you this. Like, I think it's interesting. It's something Matt and I were talking about to hit you up on. Like, it's interesting you going from the East Coast to
Mm-hmm.
the West Coast. Very Joe Rogan of you. He goes from Boston to LA. But
Yeah, yeah.
what has that contrast been like in the community and in the culture? Like, how is that different? What are the differences in the jiu-jitsu here and there?
Well, when I was on the East Coast, I was at a school called Balance Martial Arts, and I was under House and Gracie, and it's growing right now. It's more like traditional Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and it was really cool. There's a lot of good people there. Good, it's a very good scene, very family oriented. I liked it, and I they weren't really like too much into like IBJJF competition at that time. Uh, so when I had gone out to the West Coast, there's a lot of reasons why I went out there, right? I like the weather there, I like the beach and stuff like that. But I also had talked to Coyotero's manager who kept saying like, oh, you should come out here, come out here. And I wanted to like kind of see the school I was at in the East Coast, like again, it was more like self-defense, and they were very good, but it wasn't like Kai was more like kind of like I guess you could say like modern in terms of the technical aspects, um, in terms of the game he plays. So that was kind of different, and I'm not sure that's like a coastal thing. Like you know, I mean, any school has any techniques nowadays, but like I feel like on the West Coast, there's more jujitsu, right? In terms of you know, it's grown so much out here. Um, for me to be at Kaios, like that level, I felt was very high compared to a lot of places I was at. Like, oh, I'm a black belt and I'm having really challenging, you know, losing to purple belts, you know, and like some places I was at where that wasn't the case, you know. So I can't say the level is better or worse anywhere, but I felt like the level was definitely different, you know, when I came out in California. And obviously now I'm kind of spoiled. I'm here in San Diego, right? Like it's different than a lot of places. But right now also because the East Coast has grown, there's so many places, it's hard for me to like say like, oh, it's better or worse, or you know, like now since I've been out here, okay, I lived in Philly. You can get an hour train ride or to New York. So okay, you can train with Donna Hare and all those guys, right? Like, oh, I'm here in San Diego. I can train in LA. I can train, you know, Atos here. Like, it's just it's mind blowing, you know. But I haven't been out in the East Coast to really experience that scene as of late. But the times I have come out here, it was like 2002, and then recently the past however so many years, like during the early days, it was a big difference. There's more out here, right? There's a
Yeah.
Gracie Academy. There's places in San Diego, and the East Coast there wasn't that many places. But you know, I don't know. It's kind of a hard question to like answer nowadays, right? Because there's so much jujitsu. Like I could go to Arkansas but I would never think about that years ago, right? Like there'd be a lot of jiu-jitsu, but like I could go to your academy and maybe guys would kick my butt. I have no idea, you know? So it's just like, it's getting crazy, like the evolution and
It is.
the scene, right?
It is.
But
It's awesome to see too. I remember the first time I went to California for Worlds or Pans. I can't remember which one came first without looking, but like I remember being there and like realizing that it was way bigger than I thought. It was a bigger scene. It was a bigger community. It was everything. It was as big as me standing trying to look at the top of the pyramid, you know?
yeah.
So it's really grown a lot since I've been involved. It's been awesome.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, so and you're from there originally, I guess?
Yeah. I grew up about 20 miles from where I live. I kind of like moved to the next biggest town over. That's where we have like one of the bigger institutions in the state here, and that's where I got my graduate and master's. See, ironically, I think it's what jogged my memory. I was like, man, I should ask him about coming on the podcast. But back when I kind of consulted with you on the phone, you know, right after that, I medaled for the first time at IBJJF Houston. And,
oh, wow.
And a guy you were training with was in my bracket. I didn't go against him, but Benji Silva, right?
Okay.
And you commented on the photo, and this like came up because it was like 5 years ago or however long. And it was like, you commented like, man, that guy's really good. Good job on getting on the podium on that one. But, you know, and I tell something that you told me on that phone call all the time, because I was like telling you, I'm like, dude, I'm getting my master's degree. I got this new location we just moved in. I got all this stuff going. And you're like, you got to be the best at everything. You got
okay.
because I was asking you, I'm like, how can I achieve these competition goals in spite of these other things, you know, that I'm trying to balance? And that was the advice. And I got it on some level, you know. I was like, I really do. Like, I've got to level up. I've got to actively practice mastering all of this. And man, that was a time in my life where I really did get better at time management. And anytime I've added something on, I've kind of used that. Like when I started teaching college a couple of years ago, for example.
Okay.
Try to get all the logistics down. It's not easy, you know, and I think people and I have avoided almost like procrastinating, getting your shit together.
Yeah, for sure, man. But it sounds like you obviously are aware and taking steps and you're trying. And, you know, it's it's interesting. You know, one time a guy had come up to me and I told him like, oh, you got to work hard. You got to run every day, do all this stuff. Right. At one time he was kind of looking for motivation. So I saw the guy years later and like, he's like, oh, I remember what you said to me about whatever, however I motivated him. And it was just like, I was kind of like taken back. I'm like, oh shit. Like I got to do it myself, you know? So like, wait, what you're saying now is kind of interesting. You're like, oh yeah, you told me to be the best at everything. And I'm thinking like, well, that's not, you know, but I'll tell you real quick, since I mentioned that, I want to tell the story. You know, there's a guy, his name was Jared Frey. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was an Olympian. He was a wrestler. Maybe I think like 2 or 3 Olympic cycles ago. And he was a wrestler and Brands Brothers. I don't know if you've heard of the Brands Brothers. Have you heard of them?
No.
They're like the coaches at the University of Iowa. They're really hardcore, great wrestlers, Olympians. One's an Olympic champion, one's a bronze medalist. But this guy, Jared Frayer, he was a student. He was a coach at like Oklahoma State or something, or University of Oklahoma. He was also like a teaching assistant or taking a grad program. He just had a child who had Down syndrome, just got married. Like he had a lot on his plate. And he was trying to make the Olympic team. And he said to his coach, it was Tom Brands, I believe, and he said like, how can I balance this? And the advice I gave you came from that. And he says, you know, just try to be great at everything. And they really try to be great at everything. So the advice is real, in the sense that like, that's what Jared said after he made the Olympic team, when they asked him, how do you do it with all this stuff? And it was because of that advice. And it doesn't mean like you have to kill yourself to be, you know, always to be great and all that stuff. But like, to me, it was just like, oh, having, you know, because at times, you know, we all have our lumps there in life or where we don't know what to do. We don't know what direction, or we're not motivated. But like, I think like kind of trying to have a purpose, right? Like, oh, this lockdown sucks, right? But like, okay, I'm going to be the best at learning Chinese online. I'm going to be the best at doing home workouts. You know what I mean? And I think that attitude is a good attitude, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that that you've taken that.
And I've passed it on. I'll tell people where I got it too, man. So I've a couple of times that I've known people in similar situations where it's just like I can empathize because I have too often felt like I couldn't do all the things I wanted. Shit, I was feeling that way a little bit today because I'm developing an online class. I really just want to sit here and talk to you, but and then I got this hang up on my audio version of the podcast. I'm scratching my head on. It's just like, but it's just like taking things in stride,
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like you're doing that like with your business, because there's a lot of businesses where people, and everybody's got the right to feel bad about it and to be negative, but like it sounds like you did a lot of the things to try to make it work as best as you can, and now it's bearing some fruit for you, and it will continue to do that because you have taken it in stride and you're consistent, and okay, now it's getting better, and it probably will get better too, before it gets worse, I think. But
yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, right on, man. Well, Ken, I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me, man. Maybe we could do it again here, one of these days, because I follow you online. I really appreciate your commentary. It's just been kind of nonsensical throughout this whole shutdown and stuff. You've just given the, hey, here's what everybody's saying online.
Yeah, it's funny.
It changes day to day.
Well, bro, I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully, if you're in San Diego,
For sure.
hit me up, and maybe we'll train somewhere, and vice versa. I've never been to Arkansas. I'd love to go sometime. So, man, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
Right on, man. Have a great one.
All right, man. Stay safe. See ya.